And I'm also adjusting my setup here a lot as well. I'm trying to get the best possible video, but to be honest, even the best webcams, they are not as good as I would like. So I'm waiting for a capture card to come into stock. As soon as this lockdown started, then everything electronic either went out of stock or didn't get produced. So I've been waiting for that so I can get some really top quality video footage to you as well, and get that quality even better. So it's cloudy here in Wales. That's I picked this day because in my studio it gets boiling hot in the sun, so I try to pick the cloudy days if at all possible to do it so it's that bit cooler. And you may see a bit of wobble, especially when I'm rubbing on the paper today, because I've got my webcam attached to my drawing board, and it's a really sturdy drawing board, but all the same when I rub and move it, the little minute vibrations, that's getting into the camera on the stand. So I'm hoping to be able to fix that soon as well. So those are just a few things that I'm trying to get it even better. That's a bit of perhaps it's a bit of overkill, but we spend a lot of time trying to get our colours and everything just right, and it's a shame then when the video quality doesn't come over that great. So now we're all going, let's make a little start. On the right hand side, that's my test piece I did a week or two ago. Reference photo I took in Wild Place a couple of months ago now, or more even. It's been shut for, well, the duration of this lockdown. As you can imagine, there's no visitors whatsoever there. So what I'm trying to do, I've raised about 800, or we've raised about £815, something like that at the moment. I'm hoping to possibly get up to £1,000 for them, so that we can keep this exceptional wildlife park going, so I can continue to take photos like this. It hasn't even been open that long, so they've had a bit of bad luck really with time, and it's not that well established yet, but the way they keep the animals is absolutely, it's the best I've ever seen, and that is reflected in the condition of the animals as well. So anybody that can donate £1, $1, anything. I've had some lovely, fantastic high donations as well for the other two live feeds and live streams that I've done. So if you kind of look at this as a really inexpensive lesson, if you could give a $1, it keeps mounting up, and as I said, hopefully I can get to that 1,000. I'll put the link for that below this as well, so once the video is over you'll see the link to that GoFundMe or donation page. Okay, as I said, this is one I did a couple of weeks ago. It's a bit more than a sketch. I have tried, to get it quite representational. I've left a few things where it's not meant to be a finished piece at all. It's just something I did to work out some colours and things like that as well for you guys. Remember, all I'm really showing you is the techniques. I would love you then to go on, use the techniques in your own subjects, or I've put the reference photo up for this one. You're more than welcome to use that as well. And I keep these little studies quite simple for you all as well, as far as supplies, by just usually using pastel pencils, maybe a little bit of soft pastel, but in future I'll bring in pan pastels and other supplies as well, because what you find with pastel pencils, they're not as punchy, they're not as pigment intense as soft pastels. So when you're looking for colors such as a very rich dark brown, in that area there, for instance, hopefully that's showing up on screens, a rich dark brown, or perhaps in there a rich dark brown. What you find with pencils is that you think you've got one that's dark enough. Let me show you. But when you actually put it on the paper, it's not dark enough, and it's just not punchy enough. Now you're going to struggle with that unless you're using pastel sticks, like new pastel sticks, or you're using the Faber-Castell sticks or softer sticks. The harder ones are easy to sharpen to get into these small areas, but that's where you find if you're limiting just to pastel pencils, you're going to find you'll struggle with these dark, especially rich reddy browns. They just don't seem to be in any of the pencils, and I've got loads of different makes, at least 5 or 6 different makes, and I can't get near that. So I'm just going to go with a tonal, try and match it tonally. So that's something to keep in mind. You may not be doing things wrong on your subjects, but it's worth investing in a few of these rich sticks. Now, for those that have got problems with sound, you'll probably find it's better if you're on tablets or laptops or anything like that. You can put headphones in, and you'll probably find that's even better for you. Now, just before we start actually drawing, let me just say something to you here. These, how can I say it? Okay, the difference usually between a beginner's artwork and a novice or professional type of artwork is in the subtleties. Now, what we see in here is on the back of the ears looks white, really. Under the eye, you could assume is white as well. Not sure how much is showing up on the camera. Like I say, it's 1080p, but it's not going to be as good as what I'm seeing in real life. But if you're struggling to see what colour we've got here and you think it's white, if you stick some white paper over it, and you can see it even more there, then you'll see that we've got blues in there, we've got like pale pinky salmon colours, lots of bounce light coming from the sky above. And it's these subtleties, and around the eye as well, you can see it's not white, it's actually a warm pink colour. Very light pink, but it's actually there. We've also got some blues and lavenders as well. So by introducing white, you get to see that for the true colour it is. The same would be if we had a subject that had lots of black on there. Usually you could have a black piece of paper or something else that's completely black, put that up against it, and that will show you the true colour as well. Okay, so let's get rid of this, pop that out of the way, and I've got my drawing already transferred. So let's take a look now. I'm just glancing across some of these. I'm trying to answer some questions. Well, which pastel sticks do you recommend? The Faber-Castell Polychromos sticks, not pencils. They're really good. The new pastels, they are really good as well. Otherwise, some of the others can be very, very soft. Okay, so let me just, I'm just going to look at the computer a second just to double check to see if there is something I can do with that sound volume. And as far as I can see, can't see anything about that at all. And the microphone comms seem to do nothing at all. So that's about all I can do, unfortunately. So as far as the sound, sorry about that. Okay. Right, so I've transferred the image. I've traced it. So let's talk about that. Elephant in the room, as they say. Am I against tracing? Is tracing wrong? Are we cheating? And all those things that we see people say all the time. And as we're going to, I'm going to talk about that. What I'll do, I'm just going to take a light pink pencil. We could use white, and I'm going to be extremely light in my touch. Okay, and I'm just going to, as I'm talking, just lightly put in where the lights are going to go so that I don't make a mistake and draw in the wrong areas later on. Now, because I'm using this brown pastel matte paper, it's kind of acting a lot as the mid-tone, so this drawing will come along quite quickly. Okay, so as far as are we cheating? Well, I've got videos on YouTube as well where I'm drawing, and I'm drawing freehand, or I'm drawing with proportional dividers, or I'm using a grid method, or whatever. And you know what, it's absolute personal preference as to what you want to do. If you've got all the time in the world, then you can draw it freehand. If you're rushed for time, and most professional artists, time is really of the essence, then it really doesn't pay to be drawing freehand, because also if you make a mistake, then that, you know, that could be really time costly as well. So more often than not, I'm tracing. I need to do it because otherwise I'd never get this many videos out. And for instance, with this live stream now, if I was drawing this freehand, well, that could take me 15-20 minutes or more as well, and then I could do something wrong and have to start again, because that happens anyway to the best of us. Not everybody's going to be drawing perfectly all the time, so you can imagine how that would mess things up. But the point I'm getting across is totally up to you what you do. You know, when these people are complaining and arguing and discussing, is it cheating, is it not cheating? Well, when they're doing that, I'm actually drawing and painting and creating my art anyway. So just let those people get on with doing what they're doing. If they like all this complaining and debating over it, let them get on with it, while you're actually drawing and creating while they are wasting their time. So that's my thoughts on that. So if you're one of those people that's thinking, oh, am I cheating? You know, if it's getting you down and you're worrying if you're cheating or not, well, just draw it, because most of these people are only doing this as a hobby, and if it's getting you down, well, just do it. Just draw. Simple. Job done. But if you're not, if you haven't got all the time in the world, or you'd really rather just do the painting of it, or the pastel colours of it, or whatever, just get on with it. Forget about all that. Let others do it and be done with it yourself. Don't keep revisiting that all the time. So you can see, because we've got definitely seem to be having problems with sound. Let me just have a quick read again. Okay, let me just try something else with the sound a second. No, should definitely be working, the sound, definitely. I'll check on that another day. Right, okay, so by just doing this quick blocking in like this, all I'm doing it for is just so I know to get the bits, these bits and pieces in the right place. Nothing more than that. So I'm working out where the highlights are going to be, where the darks are going to be. I'll do those next. Okay, so let's pop that back, and I'll grab a dark, rich kind of brown. In fact, let's grab a black first. Let's go around the eye before I do anything else. Okay, so down the bottom with dark. Now this is not just a black eye. There's lots of, we've got plum colours in there, got some blues, just hints of other colours, and it's in those details, those subtleties, as I say, that we've got the difference between a beginner type of eye and then a more advanced type of eye. And this is nothing final yet. I'm just, as I said, doing that bit of a blocking in so I know where all these bits and pieces go. I got a feeling what's happening with the sound. I got a feeling it's not picking up on my proper mic, my new mic. I got a feeling it's picking up on another microphone, which is probably why you can hear me, but it sounds perhaps distant. I'm just going to leave the sound as it is. We should go back. Echo should be gone now. So within about 15 seconds that should be gone. And I'll check my system settings next time we do one of these live streams. So it's all a bit of a test. It's not, people think that it's simple setting up these live streams. A bit of a nuisance, to be honest. It's, there's so many different programs going and various other things. But it's not very simple. It's difficult then to concentrate on exactly what I'm doing. I should be drawing, and you can't really test it out. You can't really test it out without going live easily. So that's why you see lots of people's live streams and things going wrong all the time. But I will get to the bottom of it. I always do. And before long, hopefully we'll have it perfect. So you can see how that brown paper is really helping me to be able to see the highlights, to be able to see these colors going in here. You can see how lightly I'm going because you can easily see the paper through it still. I'm not committed to anything. I could go over with a white over these richer colors if I wanted to, and it would still wouldn't be a problem at all at this stage. But it's very easy to be go on autopilot, and then before you know it, when you're really going for it, you've put a highlight in an area that shouldn't be a highlight, and vice versa. With the sound, it must be something in my system settings, because it's the second mic now, and that I've had a lot of people saying it's low sound. So it's got to be something in the system. It's not to do with the microphone, because this is another £150 microphone. So these things are not cheap to buy. But the thing with sound, with the image, they seem to put up with more, but when you've got bad sound, it's not very good, and people don't like that. Okay, I'm not going to go doing all this neck. I'm just going to show you the idea and the technique, so I'm not gonna go doing all that as well. I've already lost a good bit of time on this as it is. Okay, let's pop that up there. Right, I think what I also need to do is put a bit of green in the background, because when I put this green in, as you'll see, the instant that I'm putting it in, then the giraffe seems to start coming forward and being separated from the background, and I'm keeping this background really simple because I don't want to go spending 30 minutes or so doing a background. I'll do other videos where I'm going to just concentrate on a background perhaps, and I can show you how I would do things then with perhaps pan pastels or something like that as well to do a background. But at the moment what I'll do is just put in something quite simple, just so it is separated from the giraffe itself, because with backgrounds people say about it being a bit gritty or grainy looking or not smooth. And the problem with that is, if you see me or hear me pause, I'm just trying to read the comments as well to see what's going on. It'll look grainy until you start building up layers. Now with pencils, it's going to take more layers to build it up. With the soft pastels, then they seem to be more opaque, and the layer, you don't need as many layers because it covers more quickly, more easily. So the secret, if you're doing the background in just pencils, is that you need to put quite a few layers on there. You won't do it with just one layer. So I'm just going to work on it just on this edge, because that'll give me enough, I'll give you enough of an idea of, you see how I've built that up, and just built that up, and now you can see it's smooth. And with the pencils and with the pastel mat, you can see there's very little, if any, dust. So there you can see how smooth that's built up. Okay, and I'll go slightly over the edge as well, because we don't want to cut out look on it. And I'll go a bit up here as well. Turn my pencil every now and again, so I'm not getting a big flat edge on it. And we go, let's see, should we go a bit darker perhaps up in here, make that look like it's coming through, and we've got a bit of green in there, and we'll do that here as well, because the ear is so light colored. If we have a darker green here, then that'll make that look even lighter and more prominent. And then we go back to, I think, a lighter color up on top, and I can go even lighter on top of this and blend it with my fingers to make it all nice and smooth. As I said, I'm not going to spend too long. What I want is just a bit of a nice kind of rich, perhaps a spring or an autumn look to it. Well, more of a spring perhaps. We'll go do that, and we'll have some more under here. You can spend a lot more time doing this. Just change colour slightly so this bit of colour change will give a bit more interest. I can go a bit lighter as well, because if we go a bit lighter here, then this is a Conti pencil. It's a bit more gritty than the carbothellos. I don't use them a lot, but they've got their place. There's some nice colours in there as well. You can hear there's a bit more gritty to it. If I'm going light on an area where we've got some dark, so the top of these horns are going to be dark, and by going light there, that's going to make that stand out a lot more. I'll use my finger in a second to blend this all together. And then we go a bit darker under the neck. As I said, get yourself some sticks or soft pastels for the backgrounds. A lot easier than using pencils. Pencils are great for the detail, but they're not as brilliant for the backgrounds. Let me just put another layer on here. I think we'll bring that over the top a bit. See, I use these little round strokes. But I'm putting this on just purely to show the difference. So I'm not one of these that like to leave the background till the very end. Some people, they do the whole subject and then they leave that background right to the end, and what they find then is that it all looks different than what they expected it to look. And now I'm going to just blend some of this in with my finger, just softening it up, and that's all I'm going to do with the background. Keeping it simple, keeping it quick for this bit of a demo. And you'll get a smoother look as well if you use soft pastels. I've got a finger I'm using there for the darker colour, and I'm using my other finger then for the lighter colour. You see, very little. People are afraid with pastels that they're going to get a ton of dust going everywhere, and you don't really with pastel matte paper. Now, funnily enough, with some of the sanded papers, you would expect to get even less dust, and you actually get more dust. Okay, I got a microfiber cloth in my lap that I use just to wipe that dust, wipe the bit off my fingers there, that's all. Okay, right. Somebody says, Charlotte, can you explain a little more how you keep your swordfish sharpener running? My swordfish die after I guess a number 10 I have destroyed. I do use the graphite. And then I got another question underneath, but pencils work a lot cleaner than sticks. I find the hard sticks are, for the background, are they don't make that much dust. You start getting a lot of dust when you use things like Sinelia, Schminky, those sticks, Unison. Extremely soft. They fill the tooth of the paper up really quickly as well. So those are the ones that I'm a bit more cautious about. And regarding the sharpening, you know what, I'm on my, so I've been doing pastels now for about 3 years, and I've used, well, I've done 95 or more videos on my Patreon channel. So that's a load of videos, and I think I'm on my 3rd sharpener. That's all. They cost less than £10, so it's not bad. I don't know. I tell everybody exactly what I'm doing, so I'm not really sure what other people are doing differently. I do also get the blade, so you can buy the blade separately. Just chucking a few of these highlight areas in, just so I know where they are. And because I want them really white, I want white down first. I don't want anything that's going to contaminate underneath. What I do with the sharpeners, I don't... oh, I should have a piece of glassine paper to rest my hand on here, but I forgot to get that. If you've gone a bit too far over an area, you can always use a microfiber cloth and rub a load of that out. See, and then you'll be able to get your bright white back on it. So I don't do anything magical with my sharpener that I'm not telling other people to do. So I use that graphite free sharpener frequently. I'm just getting a few more colours here for these darker areas, these kind of plum areas. And that, let me just check by here a minute. That's a better colour. So every time I sharpen my pastel pencils, or every time I've done say 3 or 4 of them, I put the graphite pencil, graphite free or wood free graphite pencil, I'll get it right, in there, and give that a bit of a sharpen till it's really pointy. And that's all I'm doing, and that's not sharpening up the sharpener, the blades. What it's actually doing is just lubricating, so I've been told by an engineer, is lubricating the blade. So you're not resharpening it, but that's all I do. Now the swordfish sharpener, you can buy the blades in the UK really quite cheaply, and so I don't like sharpening with blades, with razor blades. It just takes so long. So I'm happy enough to be putting in one of these little sharpener new blades every few months, so say every 3 or 4 months. And then after a little while the whole mechanism seems to go in the sharpener anyway, so that's why I change the sharpener about once a year. But the actual blades, say every 3 months, 6 months, and they seem to be okay up until then. So no secrets, I'm not sure. Can you lift pastel if it's not where you want it with a kneaded eraser? Yes, you can, no problems. You can also rub it with this and I'll get most of it off, as you can see. You could also put a bit of sellotape on there and rub it on there and lift it off, because it's basically only a dust at the end of the day. I've also got a video on YouTube if you've really messed it up and you want to get as much off as possible. I got a video showing that as well. Okay, in a little while I'm going to have to search out some glassine paper so I can rest my hand on it. I prepare for these videos a couple of days or at least a good few hours in advance, and I'm always still rushing around trying to do this and do that and get other things ready, and or something's not going right. As you can tell, the sound is always something that goes a bit wrong. Keeps it interesting, I suppose. Now down here we've got a much richer colour, so I want to go even richer than that. Let's see what else we got. Okay, so that's really rich. I'll keep that for later. Let's try this one. It's a bit difficult doing the videos because you're trying to position all your equipment around you out of the way, and stay out of the camera view as well. So it's not as easy as it looks. Right, okay, so let's get a dark area by here. So at the initial layers, right, let me just, yeah, it's good. People are still talking about sharpeners. I've got loads of videos on sharpeners, right? And at the end of the day, you've got to make the decision yourself. If it's bothering you buying a couple of these sharpeners a year, as I said, mine seems to last, you know, 3 or 4 months, and I don't mind spending £10 every 3 or 4 months, or less if I'm buying the blades. But if that's bothering you, then, you know, you've got the other alternative then is to use a razor blade, and you've got to spend the time. So if you've got all the time in the world and it's bothering you to if you've got all the time in the world and it's bothering you to buy new sharpeners, blades, then just stick with a razor blade and be done with it, you know. My main reason for not liking them, the razor blades, is because it takes me too long. And that time I'd much rather be spending drawing, painting. If you're using Caran D'Ache, then they're really soft and you're pretty much going to be doing the razor blade thing. This colour by here has got, the surprising is, this highlight is quite a bit of purple in it. I'm going to lighten this, but because with pastels we can put a light on top of a dark and a dark on top of our light, you find that you can put an extreme colour down like that, because obviously that's too purple at the moment, and it's going to come down the edge as well. You can put something like this on top or underneath like that, and then we can put our light colours on top, so that'll subdue this right down, but we'll still have those nice punchy colours, and we'll have subtle hints of it showing through as well. Now a giraffe has got a really weird skull, so we've got this kind of a oval appearance around here. Well, I've got this purple colour in my hand. I'm going to put it in all these little areas that I can see it's living. I'm not going to put any on this yet because I'm going to be resting by there. And I know somebody asked a little while ago on here where I buy the glassine paper from. Pretty sure that you can buy it in big sheets online. I think I get mine from Jackson's, if I remember rightly. You know, it comes, if you buy the pastel mat in packs or in you know, those books, then the individual sheets are separated with glassine anyway, so I never throw those away. I just keep them, and that's where I use then to rest my hand. Because you know it's acid free, so it's not going to affect your paper or anything like that. It came with it anyway. Just blend that a bit, so you know you're fine to use that glassine paper from that. It's the same stuff. So if you've got a stock of that, you're already fine with it. Right, just glancing. Don't worry when I go quiet, I'm reading the comments, because the comments scroll away. and if I don't see them fairly soonish, then they end up disappearing and I miss them. So down here we've got kind of a light colour. People ask me what colour are you going to use on this live stream? Can you give me an indication of all the colours you're going to use? Well, I'm only a little while in and I've got a handful of pencils all the time, and I know a lot of you can relate to that. Even though I got my stuff all around me, my pencils, I still got them in my hands. Got a light area by there, see, we'll be able to get white on that, that's no problem. Down there, these areas are important, where we've got bounce light coming under here and it's warm. Okay, so we've got a warm bounce light on the bottom. Everything is always being influenced. I'm like a broken record because I say similar all the time. Everything is being influenced by the surroundings. So under here, I'm assuming, if I remember rightly, in fact I do remember now, when I took this photo, there's a sandy soil underneath, and that's obviously, it's very natural looking enclosure, and that's really bouncing up a strong light, a warm light under the giraffe. So even though these grasses and these trees are back and bushes are back and that's creating the green, actually underneath the giraffe is standing on a sandy surface. So you imagine under here on the whites, but even on these dark rich markings, that's such a strong light, it's really pushing back up. It's almost like a second sun coming up. That's what's happening on the lip as well. It's pushing up underneath, so we've got the light source coming down that way on this subject, because you can tell they've got a shadow behind here, so the light is coming like this, and we've also got that bounce light coming back up. So that's where you always look out for things like that. It makes for a much more interesting subject. Right, curious, did you do the background another time? I just did the background. Right, okay, talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to carry on, otherwise I'm going to run out of time. So where should we start now? Let's continue putting some of these darks in. Concentrate on the direction, hairs growing. What we're initially doing is getting a fairly darkish layer in place, then we'll do all adjustments on top. Colours don't need to be perfect, especially at this stage. Let's just get something down. We can be a bit more gung-ho than lots of other mediums. On the end of the nose, what's that colour like? Could go a bit richer than that. This may be a bit too, no, that's not too bad. It's quite easy to subdue a colour as well. We can just put the complement over the top. You see how childlike it looks at the first stages. So don't go giving up and thinking, oh my god, I'm never going to get this to look right. It looks terrible at this stage. Mine looks terrible. I hope it gets better. At some point I'm going to have to put some of these pencils down. I've got so many. Okay, let's better get a bit of this pinky light in here. Let's see what we got. comes up in there as well, up there, a little bit up there. We'll blend all this in a moment. I'll soften it all down. Got a rich light there that we're going to have. We put all the details in there. And once we've got one area kind of detailed up a bit more, then we can use that as our guide for the other areas. Go a little lighter there. Jason kind of gives suggestions on a book that talks about light. The best one I've ever read is by James Gurney. So he's the guy that did Dinotopia, and I review that on one of my YouTube videos. So if you go on my YouTube channel after this, not now, and type in book review, and I'm sure it's called something with light anyway, so if you just type in my channel, or because if you don't search within my channel, you're looking all over YouTube then, and you probably won't find it. But if you go into my channel and across from my name, you'll see the little magnifying glass. So give that a click, then you can search within my channel, then type in book reviews light. I think it's called color and light or something like that, and then you will see that James Gurney book. Definitely for me, best book that was ever written on light for artists. He gives lots of examples in there as well. And of course he's a master. Anybody that could do what he's done with the Dinotopia artwork, you can imagine how fantastic he is. Okay, so it goes under there. Another bit lighter there. And as I said, we'll get a nice rich colour. We want it nice rich colour there, and then it goes. Let's see what this one's like. That's pretty good. That under there. So drafts are not particularly difficult to do, but you know, when you look at them, you look at the reference photo, it can be a bit, oh, I don't know, there's a lot going on there. Do I tackle do I block in these dark markings because they're so big, or do I do that over all of it and then put the light ones in between? And that's why I did the test piece. I wanted to make sure that this worked, because sometimes things don't work. You think it's obvious and they're going to work, and when you actually do it, it doesn't work. Okay, so some people are saying the echo is back, but I can't see how that is. I'm not sure, don't think that's a problem with my setup. So I'm altering nothing at all, so it should make no difference at all. It should either be quiet or okay for you now. Can't blame everything on me. Right. Okay, so a bit darker there. It's starting to come along a little bit now. And I won't bother with that one up there. Right. So just blocking in. Another problem when people say about can you give me all the what colours that I need, because I think some people think that I'm keeping a secret or something. But the other issue is, okay, so over 3 years, just find a different colour a moment, I've built up my set of pencils. So I've got all of the PITT pastel pencils. I bought them as a complete set. I've got all of the carbothello pencils, so I had them. That was my first set I ever bought. And now I've got all the Gioconda ones. They are great for things like flowers. They're cheap, they are anyway, in the UK, and there's not that many of them. And I've just bought the Conti pencils, just for a bit of variety. Thought I'd treat myself. I wouldn't go out your way to buy them, to be honest. They're okay, they're nothing fantastic. And then I've got a couple of Caran D'Ache, and probably something else as well. But what I'm saying is that over the years, those couple of years, I built up quite a big set. So when I'm doing my drawings, I'm using all of them. So I have my pencils kind of separated by colour and tone in these little wooden holders, drawers. So it's not a lot of point me saying I'm using this and I'm using that, because I doubt if everybody else has got the identical sets that I've got. And what it really encourages as well, doing that, is pretty much almost like paint by numbers. So you end up creating something then where I've said, right, put this number pencil in this area and do this and that. So it's not really I don't think that's the way to learn anyway. And it's usually the beginners that are always asking for that, because they're a bit concerned. But I've got a couple of videos where I've done specifically an easy subject where I'm saying the pencil names and numbers just as a one-off. Okay, so I've got a couple of those videos out there. So basics are down now. So I'm going to get my little stumpy thing in a minute and blend all this in a bit. So we can come in then and start to detail it up and make it more accurate. That's the plan. Okay, so initially I'll probably just about do, let's stick a bit of a dark area by here for the nose. Yep, I've got Pat, you're right, Derwent, that's the other ones, these. And I put that box of Derwent pastels away for about 2 years, 2.5 years, because I'm not that keen on them. They're a bit powdery, they're a bit not colour intensive, if you want to put it like that. So I just look for another darker. There are so many in my hand now. So I don't use them very often at all. But they've got some really nice purple, light purples and pinks in there. So that's why you end up buying so many pencils, because all of these brands have got something a little bit different that the others haven't. But if I was going to recommend one, it would be one of 2 brands. So it'd either be the PITT pastel pencils or it would be the Carbothello pastel pencils. Those would be my first 2, unless you're specifically doing loads of florals, really punchy florals, then I'd buy the Gioconda. Right, where's that dark brown gone? It's funny, you can have so many pencils in your hand and you're looking for one, then you can't find it anyway. Okay, so that goes over about there, and then we've got a lighter colour around by here on these lips. A lighter in there, which we do after, and that purpley colour under here, just hints of it, and there, because that brown is also in there as well. And we can sort that out in a minute. That goes a bit browner over there. Yeah, Pat Kelly says she found Conti a scratchy like Derwent. Yeah, exactly. Doesn't got the smoothness to it. Okay, so when you want to blend, you can either use one of these stumps, paper stumps, okay, on the side. See how you can get everything nice and soft in there. Or you can use your finger, which is my preferred method. So if you want to really blend it, so say you wanted to really push that in and get it very smooth, you can use these stumps. But if you want to keep a bit of the texture, you can use your finger, and you see I can go over the lighter areas as well, and it's not obliterating it. It's getting rid of, it's blending into it, but it's not losing it. You can still see where those lines are. See? That pushes it down into the paper. And because we use that, or I've used that brown, people say because we've used the brown, we've done something like that, but I've actually done it. There's no we, I'm the only one doing this in the house at the moment. Okay, so that's like a softer, blurred version now. So if we have a look at the one I did before, you see, pop it to the side, you can see we've got the under version. So now we want to refine that. So how do you clean paper stumps? Is a question. All I usually do, right? I have my microfiber cloth and I just go like that. And virtually all of it's still on there. Well, it looks like it's still on there, but not much comes off. You can actually sharpen these as well, or get a bit of sandpaper. That's a nice easy way to sand it like that, get it off. And they're so cheap anyway. I buy loads of them, so I'll have one for light colours, and I'll have one for dark colours. So here's one I've got for darks, a little one. So if you get it doing the eye, for instance, you can get right in there. So you can blend that and drag the colours around a bit. So that makes it nice and easy then. Okay, let's get a few of these pencils from my hand a moment, because I've got so many in there now. Every now and again I've got to do this and put them away. Okay, let's see if I've got a little piece of glassine paper around. Okay, I've got some. I'm just cutting a little square off. I've not gone walkabout. There you go, is my glassine paper. I can use a magnet if I want to stick that on there. Oh, I've got a little magnet under a magnet. Okay. Had a quick drink at the same time. Right, okay, where should we start by? Let's have a look. Okay, I think let's start around here. Make my way down, because I'm right-handed. That makes sense. To come like that, come down this way. If you hold your pencils upright like that, you can see the tips of them. That kind of gives you a better idea of the colours. Some of the colours are really accurate, like this carbothello, the shaft of this is the colour, but then other ones, even in the carbothello, they could be off by a mile. So you can't really go by that all the time, which is a real shame. And then in my wisdom about 3 years ago, I thought, well, I know what I'll do. I'll colour in some white paper and stick it on the back. In fact, I've got a pencil by here. Okay, so that one's quite close, but as I said, I was doing that to a few pencils because some of them are out by a mile. And the way it really works out is that when you change paper colour, so if I used a different paper colour, then it doesn't really work well anyway. So it doesn't matter. So if it works, for instance, if you use white paper and you put that around the back of the pencil, but then when you're using a brown paper, the colour comes out different. So it doesn't really make much difference. So the best bet then is to use a piece of your paper like this. Okay, so an edge I've cut off, and you can put a bit of colour on there and then see if it matches up. See, so you can put that on area and think, well, that's not dark enough, it's too orangey a colour, but it would be pretty close under there. So then when you've got that pencil, you could use that, because it doesn't look right here, but it looks right there. You see, so that's how you can tell if you're getting close where you're drawing, because sometimes over here, because you haven't done the other supporting areas around it, a colour can look very different. Okay, what I need to do is find a dark brown. That's not dark enough. And what I may find now is, okay, that's better. See if I get an even darker one. Something with a bit more that purpley colour. And even darker even. This is one of those colours by here that I want a really dark, really rich, reddy brown. And there is no, in all those 4 or 5 sets I've got, there's nothing near it. So that's where I would then go and have a look at my my soft pastels and see if we've got it in there. And more often than not, you'll find you have, or I have. But that's the main use for those soft pastels. That's where they really come into their own in the underlayer. So I could have put that underlayer in and then just use pencils on top for the more of the details. Now in some areas here I want it to be quite dark, because the tonal value, as I've said, is more important than the colour, because that's what's giving it the shape. So if this giraffe was in a different type of lighting, so rather than it being in this sunny day, if it was in earlier in the morning or later in the afternoon or something like that, then it would be different colors on here. Things would be lit up different as well, as far as, say, for instance, that shadow in there. If the sun was coming from this way, that would, you know, maybe in direct light. But we don't want to adjust too many things. I see a lot of beginners, and what they actually do is try and change lighting on the subject. They try and change the time of day. They try and, you know, all these things. And what happens then is that they lose control of it, and it doesn't even look real anymore. So try not to be changing too many things. It's better, if you possibly can, to get a really good reference and stick with the reference as much as possible. When you start changing a heck of a lot, then, like I say, you lose control over it. It's very, very difficult to do things like change lighting. So we've got a highlight area we're going to get on top there. If you find an area a bit confusing as well, you can always squint your eyes. That helps you to focus then on the major masses rather than get caught up in details. Details we stick on in the end, they're not a problem. See, I'm going a bit darker here because eventually I want to put this highlight speckles on top. Okay, going very lightly there, just bedding it in. Yeah, I'm just having a quick look. Yeah, the closest Penny Acres says that the closest she found to the dark brown is a Caran D'Ache, and I've got those, but they're nowhere near red enough for this. They're more of a matte, more of a subdued, like neutrally type of colour. They're not a rich colour that I was after. Yeah, the Conti are a bit dustier, definitely. Okay. So now I'm looking to start perhaps refining a bit more. Let's move that back a bit. Let's see what rich colours we got for the end. Okay, see that Gioconda, they're really punchy rich colours. So one nice richness around there, because this one is a lot about the light. Especially on this lip is important down here. So if we don't get that nice and rich and colourful, then we won't get that appearance of bounced light coming in. Okay. So when we're doing details, you need something underneath so that you can then put, you see, you can put your fur type of texture on top, or haze, whatever it's called on a giraffe. And we need a lightish purpley colour. Right, let's start detailing things up a little bit. So I need to go darker under here. Up on the top. Give it a bit of a suggestion there. Is the bounciness of the video putting people off? Or is that not a problem? Because I can't see it myself really. I'm going to have to really study a bit more and change the studio around even more, I think. Changes all the time trying to get things just perfect for these live streams, so I can't concentrate as much as I want to on my drawing because I'm trying to adjust all those things as well. Okay, so a bit darker there. These are going to be really nice and dark there, and I'll come back and detail that up. Because only when we've got the darks in do the lights show up nice and light. So we need to darken that, even though I would want that to be a nice rich reddy brown, as I've said. Not a lot I can do about that. So see why I'm doing this now in a moment. So it needs to be a bit darker there as well. So the lights here have kind of a purpley colour. They go up in there. You see how easily pastels will sit on top of the other colours. That's really the massive advantage that we've got. Lights over darks, darks over light. And then I'll go even lighter. Let's go with this colour. See the highlights really separating it off now. If your underpainting's looking really brilliant, then you've either managed to kind of do your drawing all in one go, and it's not really the underpainting or the underdrawing. There's a good chance you haven't actually gone dark enough. Or sometimes, you know, it's good to have it that bit looser. Not everything has got to be really super detailed and refined. Some subjects lend themselves more to a looser, impressionistic look. All depends on what you actually want yourself. Okay, we can go even lighter there. This is really quite light there. Come back and refine that a bit in a moment. And because we've got this white ear behind here, that makes that horn by there really stand up and stand out. Don't forget, if I wanted to go even lighter, I could go white, because this is a light colour. We can soften it if we want a bit with our fingers. As I said, I'll come back in with more whites and pinks and things anyway. So I want something rich. Let's see. In here. Those hairs come up a bit. I can do that nice and easy with pastels. As I said, these little kind of studies, I've got a lot more in-depth videos on my Patreon channel. We've got 95, growing all the time. And on those ones I'm using my HD camcorder, so the quality is a lot better. Some of them up to, oh, I don't know, 6 hours, 8 hours long. So I really go into detail and lots of tips on those. So to get access to those 95, it costs $9. So that's really good value. 1,300 and something members at the moment. Lots and lots of different subjects on there as well. Oh, and before I forget, anybody watching this, if you're just sitting about doing nothing, which is kind of what watching is, if you could possibly hit the like button. Anybody that's seen my other videos know that I ask about that a few times in the video, because that'll help to spread the word, because that'll help with the algorithms and things like that on YouTube, and more people will get to see my videos then. Otherwise, not many people will actually get it to come up in the search terms. So it doesn't cost you anything to do it. It's just hitting that thumbs up or like, whatever it is down there. And if anybody can give to that charity, so I can keep going and seeing these fantastic animals in Wild Place and the Bristol Zoological Society. Imagine how much they're struggling. I hope that we can get to have places like that open soon, because that's one thing I really do miss. Taking my camera and seeing these fantastic animals. I've been lucky enough to see them in Africa a couple of times. I haven't been for many years. It's so massively expensive now, unfortunately. But as far as I know, they're doing okay. But as best as can be expected, I suppose, when they depend on visitor numbers for the for their business, obviously for their money, and obviously visitor numbers is now completely zero. So how long anybody can keep going with a business with zero is anyone's guess, but it can't be forever, obviously. So I'm hoping that I can do my little bit and help to raise some money through doing these little things. And the plan is then, after a few months, because the initial idea for doing these live streams was to reach people that are in lockdown, were not allowed to get out, or they're sheltering, or whatever, to try and get out and hopefully brighten up their days. After that then, because I will have bought all the kit, which has cost quite a few £100, I'll probably do one of these every now and again on YouTube, well, I will do them every now and again on YouTube, but I'm also going to start possibly a new level on Patreon where I can concentrate on these with a limited number of people on there. You can ask me questions, we can do specific subjects then, so almost like one-on-one tuition. So that's the plan for that. So hopefully we'll be able to pull that off. Right, so I need to get that area dark as well. So let's go, right pencil. Because that's what gives the structure there. Need to do the highlights there as well. When the highlights, don't rush to get to the highlight, because that's kind of, you hear people say it's the icing on the cake, and it is. It's you can't get to that too quickly. Let me just see if this colour is any good. Okay, that's a nice colour. I'm going to sharpen that one up. Because you don't want to be using, when you're doing your highlight parts, you don't want to be using really blunt pencils then. Right, so we generally work in, kind of put the darks in, and then we go into the lights. Let's sharpen this one as well. So as I said, that's the beauty of the pastels. We can put these lights on top of the darks. And that's when it starts to usually come together, because you've got this texture then growing quite quickly. So we've got quite a bit lighter here, and we've got this is quite a bit lighter here where the light is catching as well. What you've got to be careful of is, if you want something really light like this, you don't want to go any darker than that really underneath it, otherwise you'll struggle to get your highlight lighter on top. So you wouldn't want to be dark like this if you wanted to go like almost white on top of it. And funnily enough, it's the same with, if you want something very dark, you don't want anything very light under it either. You think you could cover a light with black, but you can't really. It'll always keep you from getting that pure black. So I'll read the comments after to see if the video is all a bit bouncy on this stand that's connected to my desk. I wish I could have somebody come here and just sort everything out electronic wise, and also the actual physical setup of it. It's really not simple at all. I think it's because we're kind of trying to compete with, you know, what we're seeing on TV. So like in the UK we got the BBC and ITV. You're seeing the quality. We've got Sky TV, although the quality is rubbish on that when you compare it against HD Netflix. But all of a sudden I'm trying to you know, get mine as good looking as theirs for as little as possible. So the higher tier idea, that kind of rhymes, is something I've been thinking about for a while. I'm thinking, what can I offer, you know, that's different? And I think that these, now I've got a bit of experience-ish with these live streams, I think I can work something out with that. I'm always up and open for ideas. But I'm sure there's something in there that we can do that will benefit. Okay, let's go even lighter. Punch your colours up a bit more as well, I think. Really make it more of a sunny day. Sun's really catching up here as well. I'll go even lighter on that. More sun here. Isn't it surprising how many colours you can pop in somewhere? And see, that's what happens when people just say, well, what colour is this, what colour is that? If you can pop in some more colours, it gets even more interesting to look at. What I do need is to put some darks in here as well though, because see how I've lost that? I'm getting the colours in first, like that. And let's look for my dark brown Caran D'Ache, but it's not a rich brown, as you can see, but I'll allow some of the richness to show through instead. Try it that way, because that's something you can do. You can put in something very rich. And have something dark in there as well, and kind of simulates it. Oh, well, that's good if nobody's really seeing much of the bounce. You see the bounce if I start going like that, or if I start rubbing it a bit more, but I don't do that often. So if people are not that bothered with the bounciness, I can concentrate a lot more then on getting this sound right and really try and solve that. And call in a few of my friends to test these things out. I'll do a few private videos and see if we can really definitely solve this problem with sound, because I've spent enough money. I know I got really good kit, so I know it's not that. I know it's me somehow or other. Right, let's blend that a bit. Let's move that. These I've got a on my drum board I've got one of these metal pinboard type things, whiteboard, and I bought a good while ago, and they're quite handy because you can put your reference photos around anywhere. You can have your drawing board up at 90, or you can have it at, you know, whatever. It holds on really well. Doesn't hold on well when you're using pastel matte board. It's that much thicker, so you really need to kind of tape it then. But when you're using pastel matte paper, that's fine. Easy to wipe down if you want to wipe them down. We're coming together a little bit faster now. do I have any sound absorption foam anywhere in your studio? Not as far as I know. Why is that? Because I'm always interested. If anyone got any tips on how things can be done better, I'm always up for learning. I'm also up for learning about video recording and all of that too. Deadens the sound escaping into other areas. Well, that's a good idea, but to be honest, I've got this microphone right by my, it's about 10 inches from my face, and I've used a snowball mic as well, and that was in the same place, so I know that these mics are definitely good enough to be given a loud enough sound. So I'm wondering if the sound is actually picking up off my webcam or something, where it should be picking up off the mic, even though I'm seeing it on the screen and it's saying it's picking up off the mic, not the webcam. But definitely something going on. Yeah, Penny says she can see it bouncing a bit, but then she's got a 65-inch TV 4 foot away from her face. Sit back. Yeah, trying to just get it as best as I can, you know, these with the kit that I can possibly afford. And I spend a lot of money on video and lighting equipment and everything over the years. You've got to draw a line somewhere, but I know this sound business is not to do with the kit, it's to do with the setting. So I'll spend an hour after and get this sorted out. Yes, I think that sound bit is something to do with the devices people are listening to. So perhaps if you've got a TV, you've got a much wider range of what you can, you know, turn it up. Whereas on perhaps a laptop, they're usually very quiet anyway, so perhaps that's the issue. That's all I can think of at the moment. I will check that control panel and make sure that I've got mine set up maximum. Okay, let's go. Bit lighter down here. Spin that around a bit. Start getting some of the more the final type of highlights in. So we've got a nicely backlit edge there. Down to there. That all needs to be quite light too. And go up there. So that's an important section there to get right because of that. You see that kind of structure here. So weird. They're a real weird shape creature. I love watching them. I love seeing them drinking, especially. I really hope we can pull off the one-on-one, the tutorials I was planning to do in this wild place. It's actually in the Giraffe. It's called like the Giraffe conference room, and it's right above where the giraffes are walking around, and the room is pretty much at eye level for them, so you can look down on them. So we could go there. The plan was to go there and have, you know, 15 people or so, and we could do a tutorial there where I could spend a lot more time doing this and give more instruction. And so that was the plan before the world went a bit mad and crazy. You know, everything was getting sorted out there, ready for it for this year, and then it all went a bit wrong. But it would be a fantastic venue. I'll probably get someone else watching this now will beat me to it. But it should be quite good, and we was going to have food brought into us and things like that as well. It was all planned. Okay. Okay, we get the idea of that. Brown there. Here's a dark brown on the inside. Don't think it helps with the mic either that I always talk. I'm pretty quiet person anyway, so I'm not used to talking really loud. So you can see when white goes on there, it doesn't look, this looked white until the white came on, so you can see I've still got the option to really punch that up if I want later on, to really give it a backlit look. Same with this. You see, I got another level of whiteness that I can go. So start detailing here a bit. Move that across a little bit more. Want to get some colour in before we start adding these highlights. So we're going a bit lighter there. goes around. So this is where I'm concentrating now more on the position now of these little hairs. Rotating the pencil really frequently, so I'm keeping it pointy. As long as I give you the idea of the technique, that's all I'm concerned about. I'm not out to really finish this all off. Bit of colour in there as well. Then we can start lightening all these areas up too. First on that colour. So blocking them in. Won't do all these. Not complicated. But, a bit of a mess up with the sound at the beginning. That took a bit of time. So I'm behind a bit what I haven't got a time limit on this, but I try not to go too long because I don't want to bore everybody to death doing it. Right, okay. Let's start going lighter around the eye. Make that look pop out a bit more. Very fine hairs making up this part, so Don't want lots of texture, and sometimes that means, you know, almost filling the whole area in with lighter colour. See how that area there needs to almost disappear as it's getting lighter and lighter. Up here we got that purple, but it needs to go a bit lighter. Around there. I'll come back in with that purple now in a moment. This can be lighter too. The white on top of this in a moment, but I want to get a little bit of colour under it first. Because this area as well is quite pink. It's surprising how much other colours are actually in there mixing in. We've got pinks and purples and lots of different things going on here. You would generally not see, you know, one colour kind of living on its own. It's usually dotted around elsewhere as well. Right, let's get the white pencil going. Where's that white one? Because you haven't got to push really hard. If you don't push very hard, you're just putting a little bit of pastel down on there. Just kind of just like lightening the colour. When you're putting the strokes close together like that, it's creating that kind of a smooth look. Pushing hard there because I wanted that to be nice and punchy. This needs to be quite white here as well. See, when you get the white in, then it makes this look more like blue and colourful. Someone had just glanced across said, are you on Patreon? Yes. I'll put all the links underneath this, but if you just go on Patreon, Wildlife Art, Patreon Jason Morgan, you'll find me on there. So I've got about 95 videos, full-length videos, not short ones like this, and they're also done with HD camera, so a lot more quality on those. And don't forget, I'll hopefully, as soon as I finish this, I'll get the link down below, so if anybody can possibly donate to the Wild Place project, we can help raise some funds for the animals. I know there's lots of charities and various things going, but you know, a lot of it is the other places that kind of need footfall, need people visiting, like the zoos, they're the ones that are struggling. You're not really hearing much about them. They're not getting a great deal of support. It's all going to, you know, the same type of places. So that's why it's not been a good year for the wildlife, really, with what happened in Australia with the bushfires. And so hopefully these little, well, not really little, these live streams can raise a bit of money for them, because we've got about 400 people watching now. So imagine if everybody could give $1. That makes a difference. We've already raised 815 over like the 3 live streams that I've done, 3 or 4. So I'm just keeping that total going up, keeping going, money still going to the same one, you know. Right, let's get my pinky, light pinky colour, my fleshy colour. That's an even lighter one, that's what I want. Now I can start to detail in here. And once I put the light in, these look darker. So just the little strokes in there, because we can see these, some of the areas are catching a nice bit of light, and then other areas is quite subdued. So when you're learning these techniques, obviously you could do a nice scene with the giraffes. Imagine if you did a scene and all the giraffes of this size in it. That'd be quite impressive to see, dramatic to see. So you see how I can still put highlights on top of these underlayers? And say that's the real beauty with pastels. We can keep going with that. Because those areas are getting a bit more subtle, that's when it's starting to look a bit more realistic. I'm building layer upon layer, because the texture of the surface of the animal's skin has a few layers. It's not just one layer of like hair or fur on, there's a few layers. So that's what we need to do. We need a few layers ourselves on the drawing, on the surface, to create that depth. At least that's what I found over the years. Otherwise it always seems to be lacking something, so you can't really shortchange it. You know, you've got to put in a few layers to get that same effect that we see in. What's the size of this drawing? I did put it on my Facebook. I think it's something like about, I think the paper is about 10 inches. So I put the reference photo up on there to print out at the right size. But obviously, you know, you can do whatever you want. The smaller you go with pastel, the more difficult it is then to get details. So I like to work quite large, and I think it looks a bit more dramatic. I've done some small ones as well, mind, because I know not everybody wants to work large anyway. But it does pastel does lend itself to do larger works. And it's not too difficult to do them with it and to get them to look quite impressive for not that much time, because obviously I took a bit more time here. We had a hiccup, and I'm talking as well, so I'm not concentrating that much. So, you know, these are, for me, they're only real sketches as such, but I'm not concentrating as much as I could be. I've got a big, I've got my gorilla to finish off now in oils, and also I'm going to start now in the next day or two on my big lion one that I'm doing for Patreon, and that's a real big dramatic one. I like to do different things on Patreon to keep it all fresh. So this one's going to be kind of a big portrait of a beaten up excuse me, male lion, because lots of people do the lions and they look quite pretty and all that, not that realistic. When you see them in Africa, they're never ever like that. Oh, I better get on with the eye. I was forgetting to do the eye. So I got a real dramatic, very, very dramatic one that I'll be doing now soon. Okay, the eye is kind of a plummy colour. Let's see if I got, there we are. Let's see what this comes out like. Maybe a bit too red, but I can subdue that then with the black. That'll be okay. We've got lots of reflection, so I don't mind this going too light. And it's out here as well. That's okay. And down there. So I'll subdue that by putting some black on top of it. Right, I'm getting rid of a few pencils again. I'm collecting them again. So I gently put some black there. That's okay. That black needs to come out there. Put a bit of blue there in a moment. Put a bit of highlight in that eye now in a second. I'm just going to want to get some of these lashes in. They're always very prominent on a giraffe. Let's get a bit more of this colour back in. See how you can do it subtly then? Okay, we do the white at the end. I need a kind of a darkish bluey. Let's see what we got here. Got a bit of a blue dot by there. We could bring it a bit more alive if we put that there. A bit blue is usually a good colour to get in the eye. It just looks more realistic. Okay. Eyelashes going in. I'm not using a big white. Okay, again, I'm quite happy how this is starting to come about for a live stream. A bit of this purple dotted around in various areas. I think we'll go a bit richer in this section. That brings it alive a bit more, I think. Carol, yes, you can layer with pastels. It's always worth just having a go. If you've got a bit of a question and you're thinking, I wonder if I can do that, I wonder if this would work, to just give it a go. That's how I started off. But yes, you can layer. So if you've got a brown and you want a bit of a reddy brown, you can layer a bit of the red over the brown. So yes, that's definitely how it works. Like this. I want that to be kind of a purpley white. So I'm going to put the purple on and I'm going to come back in with the white really lightly. And there'll be a hint of that colour there. See, so it's just a hint of that colour actually on it. On the Patreon channel as well, I've got oils. It's mainly oils and pastels, and some people that say, well, I'm not interested in the oils, or I'm not interested in the pastels. You know, it starts at $4 per month, which is like the price of a cup of coffee, and for that you get access to about 45 or so videos. So, you know, if you're not interested in every single one, I don't think the value is that bad anyway. So you don't have to have be interested in every single one. I think it's still good value anyway. Put a bit of texture here. Just lightly tap in really. Just letting it skip across the surface. Need some darks down in the chin area. Do I ever use fixative spray? For example, if you want to send a commission via post, would it need to be fixed? No. Is a simple answer. I don't use, I've got loads of videos on YouTube on fixatives, and as much as Spectrafix is probably the best one out there that I've found, personally I don't use any. Let's punch up the lights now. So make it zing a bit. Let's sharpen this pencil. All of the fixatives to some degree can change some colours. Some of the fixatives are really rubbish and they ruin it completely. Most of them actually. even though you will see on their sites and their marketing and advertising where they say this absolutely definitely doesn't change any colors or tones, and I've seen other people saying, yeah, this is great, and perhaps I hold myself up to too high a standard with them, but I spend a lot of time on my drawings getting the colors, etc., how I want them. And when I've done tests on the fixatives, that's the wrong one, hang on, I've done tests on them, and I can tell you 100% that they are changing colors and tones and all other things. So see that, have a look at the videos on YouTube and you'll see how I test them. So it's completely unbiased, and the main problem is they affect different colors in different ways. So you could have like perhaps your darks will be affected in a different way and your greens in a different way to another color, and so there's no consistency with them. So then that's too much of a chance for me to bother. When you're using pastel matte, it holds the pastel really well. If you saw the first stages of this, you would have seen that that to be the case. When I was rubbing into the surface, it wasn't kind of like blending out and losing all the detail in between the layers at all. So you don't really need to, and whoever's having your artwork and framing it, it should be framed behind glass, double or triple mounted anyway, so it doesn't need to be fixed. I've got a video on YouTube yet again that shows how I store my pastels, and that's the way I send them. If I send them abroad, the same technique is the way I use to store them. Okay, Alexandra Saunders says pastel board is made by a different manufacturer than pastel matte. It's a different creature. Okay, well, I didn't know that, if that's true. Clairefontaine make pastel matte, and Clairefontaine make pastel matte board. I'm not sure if you're getting mixed up with pastel card, which is Sennelier. And I usually use the Clairefontaine pastel matte board because it's that bit firmer. It's the same surface on a like I say, a board, thicker back basically, but the same front surface is actually on there. So to me, I don't notice any difference in it. Like I say, Sennelier pastel card, I think that's called, is different. But that's kind of the second best surface that I've found. I've just done a, oh, in fact I didn't do a review on that, I tried it out myself. For myself, and yeah, I found that was the next best one really. Not as good as pastel matte, but not everyone can get pastel matte. So you can get excellent results with that Sennelier board. You know if you're getting the right one with the pastel matte anyway, because it'll be by Clairefontaine. It's a pastel matte board. You've got to watch for the names. That's the Clairefontaine one. I'm not going to do a massive amount more on this because I think I've shown the idea, the way I built it up. It's not come out too bad. Need a light blue. Not sure where that went. You see a lot of this bounce light that an influence light that I was talking about on the back here. And then on the top section it's got a kind of like a light blue, so that's the sky influence in it above. And it's down in here as well. And then I can use my white to kind of subdue all that. And blend it all together. It's even richer down by here. So if you've got any last questions, if you could pop them up now. See, I know we've got that delay, so I'll hang about a little bit longer. But it's just about time for me to finish this one off, so I won't do much more on it now. For those that can't get pastel matte, once again, if you check my YouTube channel, you'll see that I give these alternatives. I rather pastel matte, and that's that. You know, it's just takes more layers. But when you can't get it, then I even show how you can. Just thinking a bit then when I was doing that. Use pastel ground, which is kind of like a texture that you can put on watercolor paper. And the one that I tested out there, well, I tested loads of them, but one in particular was really good. I'm not sure if it was the color fix, but you know, you can really get away with that. It worked really well. So it's not the end of the world if you can't get pastel matte. There are other alternatives that I use as well and show on there. Like I said, I do prefer it. Okay, will I have a finished video of this? Not, I assume it's of this, not necessarily live. No, I won't do any more with this now. It's just showing the technique. I probably won't bother finishing this because I've already done it. I will have done it twice now. So this will just end up on my wall or in a drawer or something like that. Perhaps I'll get a few things together and perhaps auction them off for that wild place. Just seeing if there's any questions now. I might do another Q&A one video soon if there's enough people want me to do another one of them, because I can concentrate on the questions then. It's difficult otherwise trying to draw and do things at the same time and look across at the questions. So I say that it's a bit easier if I do it that way. So once again, don't forget, if you possibly can, click like on this. I think I had a record number of people this time, so perhaps that's because it was done on a weekend. Perhaps that suits people a bit better even, not sure. Let me know. If it does, I can always do things like that. I can do the weekends, any days, doesn't matter to me. What I would normally do now is just keep tweaking away at this and getting it more and more accurate, making more adjustments all the time. So that's how I would get it to, you know, kind of the next level. So I would keep working, keep getting it more accurate, take more time, obviously. I take a lot more time picking out my colours. I don't rush it too much while I'm doing this, but I'm certainly I'm just picking colours that are more at hand rather than trying to get things super accurate. Punch up some of these whites a little bit more. So I hope these little live streams are a bit different, I said, than my Patreon ones, which are done a bit more professionally, let's say, than these. But I hope these are, you know, serving a purpose. You're not getting to see all the colours I'm putting on and all the subtleties at all. But I say I hope that they're okay and they're of use. I just use that Caran D'Ache white to get the whites even whiter. Need a bit more powdery. When it's a really soft pastel, they get more powdery like that, but they deposit in more pastel as well. they've got that advantage. Do I ever use fixative as an intermediate layer and then build up more layers on top of that? I don't, because I don't find I've needed to with pastel mat, but that would be the time that I would use it. That would be the only time. And even then, I would say check out my video on testing the fixatives, because as I said, some of them are really rubbish. So I wouldn't use those ones no matter what. But some of the ones that are that little bit better, especially the Spectrafix, that would be the one really that I would bother to use for doing that. And if you're struggling with, you know, getting another layer on top, then that would be the way around for sure. That would be the way to do it. Is there any painless way to migrate from graphite pencil to pastel? I'm currently struggling with colours selection but can't find any good basic guide courses for newbies. I've got definitely I can help you out on that, because on my Patreon channel I've got a good few complete beginner lessons on there where I walk you through everything. Selecting the pastel mat paper and the colours to pick, and I list everything you need, so it's as cheap as you can possibly go. I think one of my lessons have only got something like 12 pencils in there, so it can't get any cheaper than that, and one sheet of paper. So that would be my suggestion. I deliberately did that lesson specifically for people coming around from other mediums that are perhaps thinking, oh, am I even going to like this? It's a lot of money perhaps. You know, whenever you pick any type of new medium, it's never kind of free, is it? So you've got to buy some supplies, and this is without a doubt the cheapest way that I've seen, where I've really got the most limited possible supplies that you need on there. So you can give it a test, and then if you don't like it or you don't get on with it or whatever, then it's not the end of the world, because you haven't lost much money at all anyway, or you haven't spent much money, you haven't lost anything. But okay, so if nobody got any more quick questions, I'm gonna call it a day. As I said, if anybody can possibly donate to that charity, it'd be super cool if I can get to £1,000 in total over my live streams. I'll do some more live streams soon. Definitely sort out this sound issue. Be sorting that out tomorrow. What's the time now? 7:30, so we've been on here a good while now. Yeah, that's a good idea. Perhaps a Q&A and then auction some pieces off in it, some drawings that I've got. I think that can work. I don't know if I'd be breaking any laws then. Sometimes it's really difficult to even make money for a charity. Sometimes you're just breaking laws and you don't even know you're doing it. So I could tinker with this now and keep going. I say take it, that's what takes it to the next level really. Okay, so I think that shows you the kind of technique. That's the one I did a couple of days ago, so it's not a massive amount of difference in there. Okay, I spent a little bit more time on that one. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and thanks very much for everyone coming over. If you can all click the like when you go, see if I can get a new record on the likes, because I don't normally get many likes. Tell your art friends and things about my YouTube channel as well, and I'll see you all again real soon. Thanks for joining me. Just wanted to quickly mention my Patreon channel for those looking for even more in-depth art instruction. It's packed full of pastel videos, oil videos as well, and those videos are being added to new ones every single month. I have videos for the complete beginner that have never done pastels or oils before with just limited supplies, and I take you from the very first blocking in all the way through to the final detailed drawings and paintings. I've also got some really unusual subjects as well, and in all of my videos I always take you through all the details. You see everything I do, how I create my work. But it's not just for beginners, it's also for novices, and I also show the best artwork that I've ever done as well. And this particular elephant video spans 6 hours, so you know you're going to see tons and tons of details, tips and techniques. And as mentioned, I've got lots of oil videos on there too, so there really is something for everybody, and you get access to hundreds of hours worth of videos for just $4. Now over 1,000 members strong. Hope to see you there soon.